Hey guys, and welcome to a battle featuring the mighty High Elves, led by myself, up against Sol Reiko and the Norscan hordes. Norscan often considered a bit of a counterpick to High Elves, at least it seems to happen quite often, so we've gone for a unique build here in an attempt to counteract the Norscan forces. Should be some fun stuff. So, for our front line, or lack of front line I suppose, we have triple Shadow Warriors, which seems a little bit odd as a front line tool, and that's because we don't really actually have a battle line. These guys are poked up in Vanguard a little bit, and they do decent damage overall and have relatively okay melee stats. And the idea of these guys is to push forward and hit those squishy targets, such as the Berserkers here, and help pin down and whittle down those bigger targets as well. So Shadow Warriors for our front battle line. In the secondary line here, we have some line Chariots of Chariots. Now, heavy chariots in general are something I've been trying out quite a lot recently. Had some good fun with a Gore Beast one on stream the other day. And I watched a video on Darv, basically, or a video by Darv, about heavy chariots, and they kind of opened my eyes a little bit to the usefulness of these bad boys. I myself am someone who loves to get chariots stuck in combat, forget about them, and then they die horribly. So heavy chariots certainly have a bit more durability, allowing for a little bit more lenience, I suppose, with forgetfulness. But yeah, line chariots of chase look very brutal, quite heavily armoured and armour-piercing and all that good stuff. Should be able to push through the hordes of Norscan forces. We do have double silver helms as well, both chevroned up once, and the Fireborn, a regiment of renowned dragon princes, as a last-ditch reserve here. Anti-large fire damage, of course they decimate skin wolves and can do pretty decent work up against large threats. We have one unit of rangers as well, hiding behind the hill here to push in and try and kind of stand in the way of anything eating up Shadow Warriors. And then for our caster and lord, we have an Archmage of Fire. I'm a big fan of the Archmages and kind of Sorcerer Lords and all that type of stuff, as it combines both your lord and your mage together, meaning you have to spend less money. We have the Burning Head, Flaming Sword of Ruin, to hopefully go down on top of those Shadow Walkers to do some pretty decent damage, and Fireball as well. Now for my opponent's build, you can see he has some Marauder Berserkers double chevroned up, so relatively expensive here, getting absolutely ruined so far by the Shadow Warriors. He also has a ton of Marauders dotted along the lines, cheap, cheerful, shielded, bad to the bone warriors. We also have Marauder Hunter Javelins in a secondary line, looks like two of them. As well in the centre pocket we have Fimir Warriors with great weapons, as well as a Fimir Belfiend of Shadows coming in with the Pendulum, Melkoff's Mystifying Miasma, and Enfeebling Foe, and a Scroll of Shielding, which is an item I'm a big fan of. We have a ton of Norscan hounds dotted along the back line, including the Beast of Tenashnar, dotted all the way along, as well as some armoured skin wolves. It looks like we have two actually. Interesting to see the armoured variety. This is one of the matchups, I think, where the armour can help out a little bit more, but basically you're getting extra armour for a lack of speed, unfortunately, for them. So I believe they're a little bit slower. We also have Wolfric the Wanderer here. Of course, he's going to be bringing Hunter Champions and his boat, and he's going to be on horseback, so no Mighty Mammoth for him. But without further ado, guys, let's get this battle underway. The arrows do indeed rain down, doing some awesome damage to Berserkers below half health already, although they are kind of in this pesky dip here. We're going to drop a fat fireball into the face of the Fimir Belfiend here, doing some pretty decent damage. He of course does have that weakness to fire. And it looks like the Marauders are now starting to peek over the hill. So we're going with a little cheeky charge with the Line Chariots, get some free damage before falling back, hopefully peeling the Fimir Warriors out of position. But the Hounds do strike, and they are pulling forward. So we are going to have to counter-punch here as quickly as possible. Looks like Silverhelm's are going to be riding over to aid these Shadow Warriors. That is going to drive back the beasts, but he did get some pretty good value there on top of my Shadow Warriors, who are now going to turn and fire back, trying to skewer some of the chaotic dogs there. In the distance, you can see Line Chariots over on this flank have managed to pretty much break some Warhounds and help run over some Marauder Berserkers, doing some pretty good work for themselves up on the high ground. We are now going to be focus firing down at these Skin Wolves. They are going to be slightly helpful here, I suppose. And a big, fat, burning head does go down the line, as we did land, and my opponent kind of bunched up on me a tiny bit there. Getting some okay contact. We did move out the way with a lot of his key targets. The Fireborn went absolutely deep here into enemy lines, so I'm going to have to pull him back here. Did some good damage overall to the Fimir Warriors, though. And we are going to be popping with our dragon to try and help finish those guys off. Silverhelms and Fireborn once again riding in to support the Archmage here. Up on the high ground, Skinwolves are losing to Silverhelms, and that is due to the amount of damage they did take from the Shadow Warriors continuing to support, as the Lion Chariot does clean up some Marauders who tried pushing into the back line. Now, it's getting a little bit hairy here, so many big giant monsters dotted all around, but because of the burst damage, we managed to do it on the Famir and drive them off. These skin wolves are in a precarious situation. Fireball can do a lot of decent work, and we even have Chariots as well starting to ride through these berserkers, hopefully allowing the Archmage to get back up into the skies. In the distance here, we do have these Lion Chariots up to pretty decent kills. They've been bouncing around over here, getting some pretty good work up against Marauders, Berserkers, Javelins, and just holding back and distracting the enemy for a long time. Chariots can be rather pesky to actually pin in and finish, especially the heavy ones, who have obviously a bit better mass. Norsca Warhounds do try to sneak into the back line on top of the Shadow Warriors, it would seem, but Fireborn, they're ever watchful to counter-punch them and drive them off. The Archmage is going to be getting back up into the skies as well to try and pick a nice new engagement. And we still have the Rangers in deep reserve here, waiting behind the hill, as the Shadow Warriors are currently not really under too much of a threat. Melkov's Mystifying Miasma does go down on the Firebomb. It's going to allow Wulfric and these other units to catch up. So we're actually going to peel away from the assassination attempt on the Famir Belfiend there. Over in the distance, Silverhelm's slowly being dragged down here, but the Chariots continuing to do good work, rolling through these troops, up to 101 kills at this point, and they're getting some good value over here, and stopping my opponent from really pushing effectively back onto these Shadow Warriors, who have done pretty impressive damage all over. Not massive amounts of kills, but they're really there for the HP damage, dragging down key targets. But in comes Wulfric, lovely boat by him as well, pinning in the Shadow Warriors, and as you can see, that does actually imbue them with the Frostbite as well, it would seem. Beasts of Tashnar have been forced off though, and now the mighty Archmage is still a big fire-breathing dragon. Is going to help chew through Wulfric here. Flaming Sword has been popped as well, which is going to also imbue the Shadow Warriors, so it looks like they have fallen out of range here. It looks like the Berserkers have gone berserk and started to rampage, so once again, just kind of peeling off with them where possible. A little slip up by me here, these Rangers really need to get moving a little bit faster than they do. And it looks like the Archmage did get hit by an Enfeebling Foe, but instead gets back up into the sky, allows the Fireborn to come in, do some damage to Wulfric, before turning around to engage once more. Looks like some of the Shadow Warriors have even decided to hop in here as well, trying to turn the tide there. One of the Berserkers and Marauders once again still kiting, or being kited by one unit of Shadow Warriors, allowing the others to shoot them in the rear as well, doing some pretty nice damage. And the Chariots victorious from their engagement over in the distance. They're up to 129 kills. Need to come back here and kind of help put pressure on the Norscan forces, as the balance power is currently Norscan favoured, but a massive breath attack going down on Wulfric nearly finished him off, but a Scroll of Shielding keeping him alive, as a overcast Fireball as well. Does actually do a bit of kind of miscast chance there. But it looks like Wulfric is going to be running for the hills. And the Archmage taking some javelins to the face, which is no fun for her. So she's going to jump down here, try to finish off Wulfric to prove a point. Shadow Warriors are now running out of ammunition, and this is where it can get a little bit sketchy, as there's still a decent amount of Berserkers and Marauders dotted round here. Of course, the longer they stay in fight, the better their Berserker trait will go, and the tougher they're going to be able to drive off and kill. Lion Chariot still bounced around, looks like they're finishing off some broken Marauders, and looks like in the distance my opponent actually has a few units of rallying troops he needs to bring back. So he's got some Armored Skin Wolves, Warhounds, and then some other units are chasing away Chariots, but needs to bring those back as quickly as possible. We do drop a Burning Head down the line, sacrificing some Shadow Warriors to get some pretty decent kills across the board, and this Lion Chariot is just having an absolute whale of a time, driving through and punting the Famir Belfiend there, the White Lions. Just such cool animations on these bad boys. Look at them go, just slapping Marauders left, right and centre with some pretty janky animations there. Glorious stuff. Rangers have now finally been used here by me, so definitely a deep reserve there. Enfeebling Foe has been popped on them, however, but they're still going to be shutting down the Marauder Hunters for now, which is pretty good news for me. And overall, Shadow Warriors have very decent melee stats. 37 melee attack, 23 melee defense, there's certainly nothing to scoff at. And they managed to drive off the rest of these Norscan forces. Looks like the Hunters pretty much spent here as well. Over in the distance, we can see the mighty Dragon has managed to devour Wulfric. Wonder if we can see his corpse anywhere, or perhaps he did manage to make it off into the countryside there to escape. So we have a few units that can come back here. We have Warhounds, Armoured Skin Wolves, which of course are regenerating, and it looks like right in the distance Famir Warriors have returned, but they're incredibly beat up at this point. They are trying to come back after chasing successfully off one of the chariots. Looks like Familiar Bell Fiend is still fighting strong here, but completely surrounded by Shadow Warriors. Not having it the best of days. Arcane Conduit has been popped to try and give her a little bit more magic, or him a little bit more magic. Archmage may just float over here to finish the job, but who knows. The Rangers go in a column formation rather oddly into the Skin Wolves, but the Flaming Sword of Ruin is going to go down on these guys, which will of course give them that fire damage to help really punish these Skin Wolves, as the Lion Chariots as well coming in with a pretty decent stat line, especially when buffed up. A big breath attack coming in as well, everything being chucked at these Skin Wolves, and they're, you know, they're fickle beasts, these werewolves. They're going to be fleeing for the hills. They don't really want to mess around. And with that, the Norscan forces will break. So I hope you enjoyed that one, guys. A very Pyrrhic victory for the forces of the High Elves. If you enjoyed the battle there, feel free to drop a like and subscribe for more Total War Warhammer content. But anyway, let's have a little look at the build. So, the main idea of this build is it's kind of a very Wood Elf build in a way, I suppose. We're kind of adopting a Wood Elf style of play with the High Elves here. But instead of doing a Net and Waywatcher, kind of trying to pin in those key targets, we have Shadow Warriors and an Archmage of Fire who did pretty decent damage across the board. Also helped take down those pesky characters. Now the Shadow Warriors are fantastic at dealing with Skin Wolves in general. Also very good up against Berserkers and can whittle down Hunters and stuff from long range. And they really performed very, very well here. Some of them even getting up to 100 kills, but of course you need to protect them. So you have the different rows of attack. You have the Chariots, which go in first to kind of buckle down the enemy, and Cavalry if you're feeling particularly adventurous, and if not, when the opponent starts to hit your Shadow Warriors, then you hit them with the Cav, and eventually the Rangers can come in as well at the end as a last ditch kind of defense unit to help protect those warriors and allow them to do the damage they need to do to seal victory. MVP, probably this one line Chariot of Chariots here. 181 kills, held up about 3 units, butchered them, and then floated back to the main fight to do some pretty awesome damage. Anyway guys, hope you did enjoy. Till next time, peace, and as always, stay awesome.